But we do have to give props to Giants in the way in which they were able to continue fighting, even when they were put in a deficit early on. Remember that you'd consider them down and out after that horrible level 2, level 3 play that happened up in the top lane. Memento got put behind really hard. The Rise had already gotten himself a kill.
Yeah.
Things were looking bleak for Giants very early on into the game.
They fought back.
Exactly.
In both games.
And that was what was great to see from Giants. The fact that they were resilient, they were looking to find opportunities back into the game. There was even a possibility of Memento getting just enough gold that he could then be able to deal with FEBIVEN in a side lane, but they just never got to that point. And once H2K had solidified a strong enough lead, they were just unrelenting with the pressure.
Yeah, it's hard when the lead is that insurmountable and a team is honestly that much better than you, but I think Giants can definitely take heart from the fact that unlike previous week, they did not break at the end. You could see them still trying to force the fight. And in all honesty, when you've got nothing left for the base, going for that fight, even though they lost it all, I feel like that's just the way you got to go for it. I like the tenacity from this team, and I still think they can make a shot at playoffs. They've just got to find wins against the teams that are a little closer to them in skill.
The thing is, though, when you look at the big picture, now things are getting really tense between Giants and Roccat with regards to Group A, because both of them are fighting for whatever wins they can possibly get. Both of them are doing their best to avoid relegation. That 4th place spot is the ideal. There's always the possibility of making it into playoffs, given that Fnatic is still struggling in the middle of Group A. But when you think of the big picture, H2K are looking like a strong team that are continuing to dominate over the rest of Europe.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a very encouraging sign for them heading into IEM week. Be facing off against some of the European best teams as well, and some big competitors from across the world. H2K, definitely a few kinks to work out, but
a few.
I think they did quite well.
I think you can't take anything away from them, right? Like, especially JANKOS. I think it was enjoyable watching him and Memento and a lot of the
He was having a good
games.
time that game.
Yeah, there were a lot of back and forth. Level 2 ganks as well from JANKOS, something we haven't seen for a while, but still trying to hold on to that First Blood King title.
Yeah, I mean, we got First Blooded in game number 1. Maybe he thought he had to try and make up for it a little bit more. I mean, JANKOS has definitely been having some big performances of late. I really liked him on Graves that time around and his buddy system with FEBIVEN.
I really enjoyed the game overall, and when we also look at the bottom lane, we looked at Nuclear and CHEI. They had a great performance in week 1. Not really the biggest impactors in game 2, especially when we look at game 2 or this week.
Importantly.
They were a key part of the success. The real star was FEBIVEN. Like, when you think of his success in game 1, the fact that he was able to come back on LeBlanc, get a lot of good picks, find opportunities to make his way back into the game, showed a lot of promise. And then in game 2 on his rise, well, he was just kind of out of control.
Absolutely. But enough from us. Dracos, he's sitting down with Memento after a tough loss to H2K.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Of course, pleased to be joined by Memento.
Hello.
Not quite the result I'm sure you were hoping for, but I want to ask you, we heard you say in a brief video, JANKOS is your kryptonite, and I want to know, after playing against him today, how do you feel about that?
He's definitely really good. Like, maybe first game, I did some pretty good counter ganks, and he tried to overforce on mid lane, which actually he got punished for in the end. But I didn't really punish him as hard as I actually could have. And second game, he has basically out-jungled me pretty hard.
It's pretty rough. Can you run us through the thought process on the Camille pick? You guys are one of the first teams to pick her up in the jungle. Did you feel like this is a strong pick we'll see in the future, or is this kind of a sort of a one-time try, something new?
I mean, Camille is really fun, so I mean, I love to play her. But she has some weaknesses, like she doesn't really clear the jungle that well, and she can easily fall behind. So you might see her in the future, but I think it's better on top lane probably.
What do you think were like really your goals with that composition? Do you feel like it could have gone much better if something had gone differently in that game?
I mean, if we didn't fall too behind, then I think we actually would have won, because we had a really strong team comp for the late game, but we ended up like trading a bit bad, and we lost like 3 kills for 1 and 3 for 2, and we felt like we've kept falling behind all the time, and kind of made it really hard, the game. And Graves got really fed, so he basically just one-shot everyone.
Yeah, definitely absolutely brutal to play against the Fed Graves, the lethality. Looking forward for Giants, it hasn't been great so far, but there have been some good moments. I'm curious what's next for you guys, and what are the goals in the coming weeks?
I mean, it's really sad to lose, because it feels pretty shitty it feels terrible, because just coming here to LCS and like play on stage and just like losing in front of everyone, it just feels, it's heartbreaking for me at least, because it's just, I can't describe it. I'm just really sad. But coming into the future, we just have to work harder. Like, we're not good enough. And that's the reality. We have to put more hours into League, and we have to just, like, watch more VODs and practice a lot harder. Like, there's no excuse. We just have to work harder, that's all.
I mean, that's, I feel like, a really hard thing for a lot of people to accept, so it's good to hear that you guys kind of acknowledge that and are willing and ready to move forward. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me on this one and coming in after that loss. I hope we can see more from you guys in the future. Hope you can get those wins under your belt, but that is enough from me. That is enough from us. Let's close out the day. Let's send it over to the post-game lobby. Shocks, take it away.